This is OGTV Comprehensive News. I am Tunji Akintayo. Thanks for joining us. On the news, Governor DAPO ABIODUN approves appointment of 6 new permanent secretaries. Ogun State Assembly engages Nigeria Labour Congress on amendment of pension law. Central Bank of Nigeria drops savings account interest rate to 1.25%. Belarus detains scores of students protesting against President Alexander Lukashenko. We generate fears while we sit. We overcome them by actions.
And coming up on sports, Osaka using US Open as platform for activism. There is a minimum when I return later. My name, Hakeem Akitunde. You're welcome.
Now the news in full. The Ogun State government has affirmed that the recently passed new pension reform bill by the State House of Assembly is in the best interest of its workforce. The new pension reform bill, still awaiting Governor DAPO ABIODUN's assent, is to enable government fulfill its obligations in the payment of gratuities and other workers' emoluments. In a statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Kunle Shomori, the bill is among other objectives to harmonize and align some aspects of Ogun State Pension Law 2013 with the Pensions Act of 2006. The statement further adds that it is also intended to address the challenges of accumulated unremitted contributions by the past pension administration, as well as enhance the welfare of public servants in and out of service. All these came to the fore at a meeting between government team comprising Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Alhaji Salis Shuaib, Commissioner for Finance, Mr. Dapo Kubadejo, and the Head of Service, Alhaji Aselmo Totu, with the labor movement led by the Chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ogun State Council, Comrade Emmanuel Bankole. The Labour appreciated the good intentions of government on the development, but however expressed reservations about inadequate consultations with the supposed beneficiaries of the law. The briefing concluded that since the bill is yet to be ascended to by government, labor unions and other stakeholders should study the proposed reform and forward areas of concerns to government within 1 week to harmonize disparate positions and then forward same to the House of Assembly for consideration and amendment. The meeting concluded with both the government team and Labour expressing satisfaction with the cordial relationship existing between Prince DAPO ABIODUN's administration and Labour as exhibited during the discussions. Ogun State House of Assembly has explained the reason behind the passage of the pension reform bill, saying it is imperative for the state government to utilize the urgent window of financial facility being provided by regulatory authorities to secure funds through bonds to defray outstanding gratuities, which necessitated the recent passage of the bill by the Assembly. The Speaker, Honorable Olakunle Oluomo, disclosed this while receiving the executive members of the state chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress, led by Comrade Emmanuel Bankole, over the trending issues about the new bill at the Assembly Complex, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Correspondent Kolawole Osho covered the meeting, and his report is presented in this package.
Speaker, Ogun State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Olakunle Oluomo, saw the need to engage the labor unions in the state over the trending issues generated from the recent passage of pension reform bill, saying that the new law, which was subject to further amendments by the Assembly, arising from further engagements between the state government and labor unions with a view to addressing any grey area if discovered, got the unanimous and speedy approval of the lawmakers as a result of the short time frame issued by regulatory bodies for the state government to propose amendments to some of its laws to conform with stipulated standards as applicable at the national level.
I want to say that the amendments bill that was just passed by the House is not cast in iron. It's subject to discussion, amendment or further amendment as a result of what you and the executive will come up with. We are proactive, we are labor friendly, we will not do anything that will hurt the feelings of the labor. We are only persuaded by the fact that those who want to give us the bond want our law to be the same thing are that of the national law. I just want to appeal to you that you should allow dialogue to reign in this matter.
Speaker Oluomo thereafter reassured the labor unions that the Ninth Assembly would always remain worker-friendly and would continue to put in place relevant legislative instruments to promote industrial harmony between the state workforce and government. Earlier in his remarks, Chairman Nigeria Labour Congress, Ogun State Council, Comrade Emmanuel Bankole, lauded the Speaker for the engagement and called for further engagement on the part of the present administration with a view to further strengthening industrial harmony and correcting the anomalies put in place by the previous administrations on issues relating to workers' welfare.
We look at it together, pros and cons, so that fears be allayed, and then we will agree. And then the law that will be so passed will be our law. Because with proper engagement, together we can collectively agree. So, we've taken your word, we will go back to our members. At least we have extracted commitment from government today, earlier today, that they will put all on hold until all the stakeholders are involved, and then whatever comes from us, we will come back to the House. So that is...
In another development, the State House of Assembly Committee on Public Accounts and Anti-Corruption has assessed the financial records of DS Adegbero Polytechnic, Itori, and State Hospital Ijebu-Ode with an invitation to the Polytechnic's former rector, Professor Olufemi Fatade, and the hospital's former director of finance, Mr. Olasukomi Lawal, to appear before the lawmakers on Thursday, 11th September 2020. The chairman of the committee, Musefiu Lamidi, stated that the invitation became necessary as there were grey areas in the institution's financial records that needed clarifications by the invited officials.
The governor of Ogun State, Prince ABIODUN, has approved the appointment of 6 new permanent secretaries in the state civil service. Named as permanent secretaries are Mrs. Kehinde Onosanya, Johnson Odeyemi, Olukayode Ogunleye, Moses Adebayo, Engineer Lateef Yusuf, and Mrs. Olushola Oshasono. Until their new appointments, these career officers were senior directors in their respective ministries, agencies, and parastatals. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Mr. Kunle Shumori, said the appointments were made in line with the desire of government to fill the existing vacancies among the rank of permanent secretaries in the state public service. Seniority, merit, professionalism, and diversity were considered in the appointment of the 6 permanent secretaries and done in the exercise of the provision of Section 208, subsection C of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Also in the exercise of his powers, the governor deployed the new permanent secretaries to the following ministries and agencies: Kehinde Onosanya, Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs; Lateef Yusuf, Ministry of Works and Infrastructure; Mrs. Olushola Oshasono, Ministry of Transportation; Moses Adebayo, Bureau of Protocols and Ceremonials; Mr. Olukayode Ogunleye, Bureau of Service Matters. According to a statement by Mr. Kunle Shumori, Chief Press Secretary to Governor Dapo Abiodun, redeployed to hold ministries, agencies, and commissions are Mr. Kolawole Fagbon from the Bureau of Service Matters to Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. Mrs. Titilayo Dosumu moves from the Teaching Service Commission to Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission. Engineer Jonathan Onojobi goes to the Ministry of Culture and Tourism from the House of Assembly, while Dr. Oluroti Oladende has been redeployed from the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development to the Bureau of Government House and General Services. Also moved are Mrs. Melucia Oguremi from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism to the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, and Mr. Olurotimi Shotubo from the Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs and Administration. While congratulating the new appointees, Governor Abiodun urges them to brace up for the challenges of their positions and apply themselves to the building of a future together agenda of the administration. Despite the capturing of fingers and faces to further secure transactions, which regulators see as a possible solution to bank fraud and money laundering that have given the country a bad name, the challenge still persists. OGTV News takes a look at the economic effects of the advanced free fraud banking system in Nigeria and possible ways to curb the menace. Idowu Fabajo reports.
Nigeria banking sector is made up of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, which is the apex bank and the regulator of the banking sector, commercial banks, merchant banks, development banks, and specialized banks. These banks deal on various financial instruments and development that are transferable and desirable in nature, notwithstanding the incidents of fraud and forgeries that tend to pose a serious bottleneck to proper functioning of the banking system.
It has a huge negative effect on the image of the country. By averting this, it will bring about more confidence in our banking system, in our economic development plan. We have a lot to lose if we don't mitigate all this this advanced free fraud situation in the country and even beyond.
The advanced free fraud is confidence trade, in which the target is persuaded to advance a sum of money in the hope of realizing a significant larger gain. This is very common and rampant among the bankers in Nigeria.
The cost of fraud are always passed on the society in the form of increased customers' inconvenience, opportunity cost, unnecessary high prices of goods and services, and lack of infrastructure, as well as facilities that will aid the economy. Respondents call on government to embrace technologies that would aid the arrest of culprits.
Where we need to strengthen our internet banking arrangement such that when you want to pay, you are sure that you are not paying to a scammer. And so all of us can be comfortable that if I buy something from this platform, I am safe. If I pay on this platform, my card is safe. You know, and if anything happens, I just inform the platform that is hosting all of them, and then they can track these people down.
We must advance technologically, and we must advance by using the available tools, especially the youth, for positive impact other than leaving them just to be on their own and applying what they seem to know negatively.
Banking system in Nigeria economy is a very vital sector, and its position in the economy cannot be overemphasized. Hence, all hands must be on deck to curb the menace of advanced free fraud in the nation's banking system. Ito Fabaju, OGTV News.
Migration remains an ever-growing phenomenon that has implications for both sending and receiving countries. On the average, developed countries benefit more from immigration as immigrants tend to raise natives' productivity and income. Muyoluwa Ajayi in this special report takes a look at the effect of migration on any nation's economy and the way out. Our report is presented from our studio.
As the most populous country in Africa, with an estimated population of over 130 million, Nigeria plays a key role in the evolution of African migration. The post-1981 decrease in oil prices and associated economic downturn alongside political repression have transformed Nigeria from a net immigration to a net emigration country.
Migration is simply the permanent or temporary movement of people from one country to another. So it's a permanent change or temporary change of residence by an individual or group of people. It can be forced and it can be voluntary.
The increasing polarization of the economy, scale of unemployment problem, which are plaguing Nigeria, remain the major reasons why most people leave Nigeria.
The impact of migration on the country travel to is that it boosts the economy of that country due to its sufficiency in manpower.
Migration is caused by natural disasters, flood, lack of job opportunities, generally bad economy in the country. Also, political disturbance too can force people to migrate from one country to another country. The voluntary one is where people understand that, okay, so we are migrating to get better education, job opportunities, good economy, nicer climate. For the hosting countries, it creates more competition there. So where there are too much people are migrating out of a country to another country, it creates an imbalance in the population density.
Major movements by migrants to another country may have social, economic, and cultural impact that is distinctly positive in both countries of origin and destination.
Rural to urban migration, government should ensure that there are basic amenities in the rural areas, while for international migration, that's from one country to another, government of different countries can work together to help each other, so it will reduce people migrating from one country to another.
Curbing the negative impact of migration on an economy of a country is solely in the hand of the government. If government should provide basic amenities like simple health care and other related basic amenities, the economy of that country will greatly improve.
For economic growth and opportunities, respondents urged the government to create policy that will help to provide jobs by supporting African businesses and entrepreneurship to promote better political governance and employment.
And still to come in the news, federal government to provide electricity for 5 million rural homes. More news and reports after this break. You're welcome back. Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has been sworn in as the newly re-elected 8th president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, for a second term. The swearing-in ceremony and oath-taking took place on Tuesday and was broadcast virtually. The event was attended by heads of states, governors, Nigeria's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and over 200 external stakeholders who joined physically and virtually. The chairperson of the AFDB Board of Governors and Ghana's Finance Minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, administered the oath of office. The Senate said on Tuesday that none of its members received 20 million naira COVID-19 palliative from the Niger Delta Development Commission. Directors of the project, Director of the Project Interim Management Committee, NDDC, Dr. Cairo Ojogbo, had alleged in a recent newspaper interview that the agency gave 20 million naira to each senator, while each House of Representative member collected 15 million naira as palliative. But the spokesperson of the Senate, Dr. Ajibola Bashiru, denied Ojogbo's claims in a statement titled, NDDC board says senators got 20 million naira, reps got 15 million each for COVID-19, a disclaimer on Tuesday. As part of efforts to sort out the diplomatic misunderstanding between Nigeria and Ghana, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi GRAJABIAMILA, will be visiting Ghana on Wednesday. GRAJABIAMILA disclosed this to State House correspondents on Tuesday after discussing the plan with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa. The Speaker, who said he was at the State House purposely to rub minds with the President on the diplomatic row, described his planned visit as legislative diplomacy. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has reassured the electorate in Edo State to expect nothing less than a free and credible poll on September 19, when the governorship election is slated to hold. It said that it would not be distracted by spurious allegations peddled by mischievous politicians from doing the right things, which is to conduct a free and fair election. The assurance was given by the INEC National Chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, while fielding questions from journalists shortly after swearing a new resident electoral commissioner for Ekiti State, Tella Adeniro Ramon, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. According to the INEC chair, the Commission will stand by its officials irrespective of spirited attempts by politicians to smear their reputations, which is said has become the character of these sets of persons anytime elections are to be conducted. Earlier, shortly after administering the oath of office on the new REC, Yakubu charged him to carry out his duties within the ambit of the provisions of the Electoral Act and the Constitution. Responding, the newly sworn-in resident electoral commissioner pledged to abide by the provision of the Act that established the commission to the letter. The Director General of Industrial Training Fund, ITF, Sir Joseph Nari, has commended the federal government for its directive on the harmonization of skills program implemented by ministries, departments, and agencies. The DG, who was reacting to the pronouncement in Jos, described the decision as a welcome development, as harmonization of skills program will lead to greater synergy and cooperation between and among government agencies involved in skills acquisition for job and wealth creation. He said such collaboration will lead to the greater multiplier effect, reduce wastages, as well as duplication of efforts. Sanari said it was for these reasons that ITF had over the years advocated for agencies of government to work together rather than working alone. The DG said the ITF will leverage on its experience, expertise, and expansive network to attain the directive of government. The National Leadership of Rice Farmers Association, REFAN, has said the recent flood in Northwest, which damaged a lot of farmland, would not affect rice production and contribution and distribution in the country. REFAN, alongside state chairmen from the northwest of Nigeria, took an on-the-spot assessment visit to Kebbi and Sokoto states as the flood continues to wreak havoc in rice farming communities. Alhaji Aminu Goroyo, REFAN national president, who led the team, visited Jega local government, and Agungu in Agungu local government area of Kebbi State. The team, accompanied by the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN officials, expressed worry over the destruction of farmlands by flood after huge investment by farmers. Muhammadu Ogi, Kebbi State Chairman of REFAN, told the team that what has been lost to the flood cannot be quantified at the moment, but is in billions of naira. The national president of REFAN, Alhaji Aminu Goroyo, said more than 1 million farmers will be mobilized to engage in the next dry season farming. Goroyo said the federal government's support for this year's dry season farming will be coming through the Central Bank of Nigeria, and assured the flood victims that officials from the CBN will soon arrive in Kebbi State for assessment with a view to providing immediate intervention. The representative of the Central Bank, Governor Benedict Agu, said farmers operating under Anchor Borrowers Program will be given every opportunity to be on their feet despite the setback. Discrimination against people living with disabilities will be a thing of the past now that the President of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has signed the bill into law and direct appointment of executives for the Commission handling disability matters. Wumi Adigun, in this special report, takes a look at the sustainability of the Commission concerning proper implementation of the bill. This report.
According to the World Health Organization's 2011 World Disability Report, about 15% of Nigeria's population, or at least 25 million people, have disability. Many of them face a number of human rights abuses, including stigma, discrimination, violence, and lack of access to healthcare, housing, and education. On January 23, President Muhammadu Buhari signed into law the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2020, following 9 years of relentless advocacy by Disability Rights Group of Nigeria.
To give priority to disabled people in terms of job creation, in terms of employment, in terms of just basically making the life of the disability community more easy.
Making public buildings accessible, making education inclusive, making parents who have children with disability understand that they have life and their life is committed to government in the constitution, the protection of rights and lives and properties, that government is showing interest.
Months after, President Muhammadu Buhari also established a national commission for persons living with disabilities. The commission, which will be empowered to receive complaints of rights violation and support victims to seek legal redress, among other duties.
With Federal Ministry of Social Welfare, Area 10, that is where our affairs are taking place, or Federal Secretariat. Before we enter the office of the minister or whatever, we must claim at least 3-story building. Definitely, it always making us very straight, not me alone.
Respondents speak on the federal government's initiative.
While commending it, we also recognize that there are challenges for government to meet. Now, number one is the challenge of intensive, massive public education about disability, so that will change the ingrained nature, attitude, and behavior that we have against people with disability.
People, they need a documentation. We need numbers. Like when we say task have a number, oh, okay, this is X number of people, okay, this X number of people that are coming out to for, so that the money being appointed to them will get to them and it will be used well.
Discrimination is considered to be a stressor that causes physical responses such as high blood pressure, which can be a contributor to poor health and well-being. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
Exploring what is really behind being angry, being aware of anger warning signs, learning ways to calm down quickly after anger, among others, have been identified as ways of managing anger. Respondents who spoke with OGTV News are of the opinion that if all are mindful of these self-control, the danger of anger will be controlled adequately. Elizabeth Esson completes the report.
Anger is a normal and healthy emotional expression that is neither good nor bad. Like any other show of emotion, anger conveys a message that reveals a situation is upsetting, unjust, or threatening. Although anger is a natural emotion, both medical experts and religious leaders have different perspectives to it.
It is highly discouraging for anybody to be angry, especially a Muslim. If you see anyone calls himself a Muslim and you see him in the situation of anger, it means such a person does not understand the pristine Islamic ideology.
If the volume of prayers being offered to God is answered 100%, I mean ipso facto, there will be no problem. But how can you get up from a place where you are angry and say you are praying? No. And the Bible enjoins forgiveness. So anger is bound to come, no doubt. But the important thing is a matured man will compress the anger.
There are some mental, problems associated with anger. For example, depression. So depression has to be managed, before you say the anger could be corrected.
The ultimate goal of anger management is not to suppress angry feelings, but rather to understand the message behind the emotion and express it in a healthy way without losing control.
It's what we call PMS, premenstrual syndrome, which occurs shortly before the menses. A woman may become irritable easily. So our knowing why we should have to do all these things is that so that when your spouse has not been getting angry every time, and you notice that you just flare up and this, it could be that it is the premenstrual syndrome that is occurring.
Professionally, because of the level of anger management that we have had over time, we always make sure we manage such very, very well, such that the parties involved in conflicts will be able to still see themselves that it's not all about being angry. It's not all about, there will not be solution as a result of being annoyed or being angry in the event of conflicts.
While it is perfectly normal to feel angry, according to respondents, anger becomes a problem when you express it in a way that harms who is angry or others.
If you destroy anything on the surface of the earth due to your temperament, due to tension, unnecessary tension, avoidable anger, if you destroy anything on the surface of this earth, you will be queried in the day of judgment.
So many things could trigger anger, but you just have to make them realize that the solution is not being angry. The solution is understanding what we have found ourselves and trying to see how we can meet such needs.
Anger that flares up all the time, according to them, could have serious consequences on physical health, mental and career health, as well as relationships. According to respondents, Learning to control one's anger and the ability to express it appropriately will help one build better relationships, achieve one's goals, and have a healthier, more satisfying life. Elizabeth Esson, OGTV News.
As the Ember months roll in, the Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Corps TRAORE has commenced its advocacy drive to ensure a crash and accident-free transit period with the theme Stay Safe, Drive Safely and Be Protected. This year's sensitization drive is unique in a way due to COVID-19 pandemic, which has further challenged all road users on the need to stay safe by driving responsibly. In a statement by the TRAORE Corps Commander-in-Chief Executive, Commander Sheni Oguyemi, the body will employ and ensure that all COVID-19 protocols as well as guidelines are observed throughout the state roads, schools, religious institutions, markets, parks and garages. The TRAORE Corps implored the general public, particularly the motoring public, that there is nothing mystical about the Ember months. Rather, it is the attitude and lack of adequate planning before setting out on the journey which often results in loss of lives and property. The statement advises motorists to manage their health properly by ensuring a state of mental, psychological, physical and emotional balance before embarking on any journey. The TRAORE Corps therefore solicited the support, cooperation and understanding of the general public, especially the motoring public, in its advocacy drive for the year 2020 Ember months to avoid road traffic crashes and accidents. In continuation of its sustained efforts at tackling current emergency security challenges in the country, the Nigerian Air Force has commenced the construction of an aircraft maintenance hangar at the Special Operations Command, BAUCHI. Speaking during the groundbreaking ceremony, BAUCHI State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed commended the exemplary, result-oriented leadership of the Nigerian Air Force under the control of the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. Statement by the NAF spokesman, Air Commodore Bikunle Daramola, quoted the governor as alluding to the fact that when the project is completed, it will complement ongoing efforts to rid the northeast, northwest and north central of all forms of criminality and banditry. In his remarks, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, stated that the flag off of the construction of the aircraft maintenance hangar would significantly add value to the Nigerian Air Force operations in the entire country. He said the strategic location of the hangar will ensure that the NAF engineers, technicians, aircraft and other equipment that were to be deployed to BAUCHI will be protected from the vagaries of weather. Earlier in his welcome address, the Air Officer Commanding Special Operations Command, Air Vice Marshal Charles Owo, noted that the project will serve as an avenue for collaboration between the NAF and various higher institutions in BAUCHI in the area of technology exchange and capacity building. The Senior Staff Association of Statutory Corporation and Government-Owned Companies holds elections of new officers on the 2nd of September 2020. According to a statement by the Secretary, Comrade B. Babatunde Falodu, the occasion is expected to have in attendance the Central Working Committee led by the President General, Comrade Yunisa Mohammed. Others expected are the General Secretary, Comrade Ayo Olorunfemi, and the Assistant General Secretary Administration, Comrade Onakpo Chris. The statement added that one of the dignitaries expected at the occasion is the Special Advisor and Managing Director, Ogun State Property and Investment Corporation, OPIC, Architect ABIODUN Arole. You're watching OGTV News. Up next in the business segment, Central Bank of Nigeria cuts interest on saving deposits to 1.25%. This and some business news after this break. The business segment of the news. The federal government has admonished mining companies and other operators in minerals and metal sector to operate within the operational guidelines in the Mining Act. Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Architect Olamilekun Adegbite, who gave this advice while playing host to Governor Ishaku Darius of Taraba State in his office in Abuja, however, assured the state governments of optimum cooperation geared towards sanitizing the sector to make it more viable for investment. He noted that Taraba State is richly endowed with abundant mineral resources, especially gemstone, which is a veritable source of revenue generation, noting that mining of minerals by mining companies must follow laid-down procedures, including obtaining operational mining licenses, as well as payment of royalties to the federal government. Earlier, Governor Darius said the purpose of his visit was for his state to be carried along by the federal government in its plan on mineral exploration and mining. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has ordered banks to henceforth pay 10% of its monetary policy rate, MPR, as minimum interest rates on savings deposit. The MPR is the benchmark of interest rate of the CBN, and it is presently 1.25%. This implies bank customers will now get 1.25% as minimum interest rate on their savings deposit. The CBN said all deposit money banks are hereby informed that effective September 1, 2020, interest on local currency savings deposits shall be negotiated subject to a minimum of 10% monetary policy rate. Oil marketers have expressed surprise over the resurfacing of petrol subsidy in June 2020 as disclosed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. According to marketers of petrol, the government had since March this year declared that the downstream oil sector had been deregulated, and as such there was no need for petrol subsidy. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria and the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria told reporters in Abuja that they had not received any subsidy payments from government. The international oil benchmark, Brent crude, notched up, posting its fifth straight monthly gain as global stimulus measures underpin prices, even as demand struggles to return to pre-COVID levels in a well-supplied market. Brent crude futures for November climbed 27 cents or 0.6% to $46.08 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $43.11 a barrel, up 14 cents or 0.3% according to Reuters. Brent, which against which Nigeria's oil is priced, stood at $45.63 per barrel. It peaked at $46.23 a barrel on August 5, the highest level since March. That was the business segment of the news. Up next is foreign news. The foreign segment of the news now. On the world today, students have been detained in Belarus for staging protests against the country's President Alexander Lukashenko. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump has called the mayor of Kenosha a fool. Let's now join Olayinka Shodunke for details.
Authorities in Belarus detained scores of university students who took to the streets on Tuesday to demand that authoritarian President Alexander Lukashenko resigns after an election the opposition has denounced as rigged. Hundreds of students gathered outside universities across the Belarusian capital and then marched across the city center to the Education Ministry, continuing a fourth straight week of mass post-election protest. The demonstrators chanted for Lukashenko to go away and held banners demanding freedom for political prisoners. Police cordons forced the demonstrators to change their route and detained dozens of them, according to the Fashion Human Rights Center. U.S. President Donald Trump has branded the Democratic mayor of Kenosha as a fool, accusing him of standing up for racial anarchists. Speaking en route to the city, Mr. Trump said Kenosha would have been burnt to the ground by protesters were it not for the National Guard deployed. The Wisconsin city saw days of violence after Jacob Blake, a black man, was shot in the back by police. Local leaders have asked the president to stay away, but Mr. Trump has ignored their pleas as he pushed a strong law and order message ahead of November's election. It was a century ago, on September the 1st, 1920, that a French general stood on the porch of a Beirut palace surrounded by local politicians and religious leaders and declared the state of Greater Lebanon the precursor of modern state of Lebanon. The current French President Emmanuel Macron is visiting Lebanon to mark the occasion 100 years later, but the mood could not be more somber. Lebanon has been hit by a series of catastrophes, including a financial crash. On August the 4th, a massive explosion at Beirut port killed at least 190 people and injured hundreds. The culmination of decades of accumulated crisis, endemic corruption and mismanagement by an entrenched governing class. Facing potential bankruptcy and total collapse, many Lebanese are marking the centenary with a feeling that their experiment as a nation has failed and questioning their wellness to stay in the crisis-riddled country. And that's it on The World Today.
And from The World Today, let's go to the world of sports with Akim Akintunde.
Welcome to the sports segment of the news, serving up from the world of tennis. World number one Novak Djokovic began his pursuit of an 18th Grand Slam title with a straight set win over Damir Zumuru in the US Open first round. The Serb, 33, raced through the opening set before being tested in the second on its way to a 6-1, 6-4, 6-1 win. Djokovic is seeking to capitalize on the absence of fellow greats Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer in New York. Among those likely to challenge him are Alexander Zverev and Stefanos Tsitsipas, who also won their openers. Djokovic will play Kyle Edmond in the second round after the British number 2 came from behind to beat Kazakhstan's Alexandra Bublik. Still staying with tennis, 4th seed Naomi Osaka overcame a scare to beat fellow Japanese player Misaki Doi in 3 sets and avoid a major shock in the US Open first round. Osaka, who won the first of her 2 Grand Slams at Flushing Meadows in 2018, wobbled in the second set before recovering for a 6-2, 5-7, 6-2 victory. Elsewhere, teenager COCO GAUFF's hopes of another Grand Slam run were ended by 31st seed Anastasia Sevastova, but top seed Karolina Pliskova and 6th seed Petra Kvitova advanced. Naomi Osaka arrived the courts for the opening US Open game on Monday wearing a face mask bearing the name of Breonna Taylor, the African-American nurse shot dead by police who raided her apartment in Kentucky in March. By the time the US Open's fortnight is over, Osaka says she hopes to have honored the memory of 6 other victims of racial injustice. Osaka, of Haitian and Japanese heritage, said she has 6 other masks bearing the names of black people killed by police that she hoped to wear throughout the Grand Slam. And from tennis to football now, Wolverhampton Wanderers' ADAMA TRAORE became the latest Premier League star to test positive for coronavirus and was forced to withdraw from the Spain squad. TRAORE, 24, was hoping to earn his first senior international cap for Luis Enrique's side. Now it looks as though he will not only miss Spain's 2 Nations League matches, but the opening fixture of the new Premier League season as well. He was due to fly out to Spain to link up with his Spanish teammates, but the positive results meant he was not allowed to go. UEFA have strict protocols in place to try and reduce the risk of the disease spreading, despite players traveling across the continent. And to Spain, Sevilla have re-signed Croatia midfielder Ivan Rakitic from La Liga rivals Barcelona. Europa League champion Sevilla said Rakitic had signed a 4-year deal. The 32-year-old, who was at Sevilla between January 2011 and June 2024 before joining Barca, won 13 trophies at Nou Camp, including 4 La Liga titles and 1 Champions League crown. Thomas Partey is keen on a move to Arsenal, but Gunners' hopes of landing the midfielder this window will rest on the club's ability to move players on over the coming weeks. The Ghana international has long been in North London's priority capture this summer, but talks with Atletico Madrid have so far proved unsuccessful. Madrid do not want to lose Partey and still hope to convince him to sign a new contract. His current deal runs until 2023, and there had been talks of overextending his stay. The financial implications brought by the coronavirus pandemic have meant, however, that Atletico have not been able to offer him the size of deal they had initially planned. Arsenal remain extremely interested in Partey, however, and sources have confirmed that the player is keen on a move to North London, providing a deal can be agreed between the two clubs. The Gunners have been trying to tempt Atletico into a swap deal involving cash and Matteo Guendouzi, but legal outfit are adamant that the only way Partey will be leaving this summer is if Arsenal trigger his £44.5 million release clause. Meanwhile, Arsenal have confirmed the signing of defender GRAJABIAMILA from Lille on long-term contract. Arsenal made this known in a press statement on its website. The club said the 22-year-old Brazilian will wear number 6 shirt. GRAJABIAMILA, whose full name is Gabriel dos Santos Magalhães, started his career in Brazil with Avaí FC before joining Lille in January 2017. During his time in France, Gabriel spent time on loan with TRAORE in France and later in Croatia with Dinamo Zagreb. On returning from his loan spells, the Sao Paulo-born defender became a regular in the Lille side, helping them to a 4th-place Ligue 1 finish last season and starting all 6 of their Champions League group stage matches. Similarly, Dani Ceballos is set to return to Arsenal for a 2nd season-long loan spell from La Liga champions Real Madrid. Arsenal and Madrid are working to finalize a deal for the 2020-2021 campaign that is again not expected to include an option for Arsenal to buy Ceballos permanently. The 24-year-old has already agreed to move back to the Emirates following talks with manager Mikel Arteta. Ceballos spent last season at the Emirates making 37 appearances in all competitions, scoring twice, and finished the season strongly for the FA Cup winners. Knowing Zidane, the coach of Real Madrid, did not consider him part of his plans, further increased Ceballos' desire to push for a return to Arsenal. He hopes to play more regularly in order to improve his chances of making Spain's squad for next summer's Euros. Lastly, former Manchester United forward and Uruguay's legend Diego Forlan has been sacked as the head coach of Peñarol after just 11 games. Forlan, 41, won plenty as a player, including the Premier League and FA Cup with Manchester United. He joined Peñarol in his hometown Montevideo late in his playing career and helped them win the Uruguayan League in 2015-2016. But his spell as the club's coach has not gone well. Appointed in December, he has now left the role after Peñarol won just 4 of his 11 matches in charge. Thanks for watching. That was Sports Updates, latest. Return again tomorrow on the major news. I hand you over back to Tunji.
Welcome back. Time to serve you weather forecast for Wednesday. generate fears while we sit. We overcome them by actions. You can now watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Windows, BlackBerry, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch us live on OGTV website, www.ogtv.com.ng/live. Just before we leave, a quick look at the top stories of the news. Governor DAPO ABIODUN has approved appointment of 6 new permanent secretaries. Ogun State Assembly has engaged Nigeria Labour Congress on amendment of pension law. Business, we told you the Central Bank of Nigeria has dropped savings account interest rate to 1.25%. And on the foreign news, Belarus has detained scores of students protesting against President Alexander Lukashenko. On sports, we told you Naomi Osaka has arrived at court for US Open Games. As she's arriving, we're leaving. That was the news. We want to thank you very much for being part of it. It's bye for now.
To date, what we've done is to take stock of the existing fire stations across the length and breadth of the state. And we started by doing a comprehensive rehabilitation of those fire stations. So I have approved the construction of 2 fire stations in local government. I approved for a new construction of a fire station in Isheri North, which is Obafemi Owode area. Obafemi Owode, that portion is also new for as well. And they were locating one that is somewhere around in the Weaver farm so that it's more visible and rebuilding it.